All right, I'm sorry for how gross the hat is, ladies and gentlemen. About to go on a run and figured it would be a good idea to get this out early for everybody. See if there's still a chance that you could maybe make some plays before your trade deadline gets here. But essentially, I wanted to go through and look at the worst running back playoff schedules. So I got a list of about 10 teams here. We can go in order we'll go from worst to least worst. Really just give you all the most pressing information immediately. Do want to pull up the rankings on the site real quick. That way I can just more so say, oh, okay, well, Saquon Barkley, the worst schedule here. I mean, Saquon Barkley, you were looking at the Saints, Eagles, Rams for his 3 games. These are going to be for weeks 15 through 17. Now, of course, if you play in a slightly different format, then you're going to tweak this just a bit. But I would assume everybody here is playing in leagues that have the playoffs running through weeks 15 through 17. Please make sure you don't have your playoffs in week 18. Obviously, week 18 usage is going to be very difficult to predict, and nobody should still be playing by then. But yeah, Saquon Barkley, I mean, the Saints are the 28th, Eagles 32nd, the Rams 21st teams in points allowed to the running back position. So you have 3 bottom 10 matchups. More importantly, 2 bottom 5 matchups here for Saquon Barkley. We had Barkley as that sell high guy earlier in the week, regardless. And it does look like Barkley's had his value fall considerably. The community rankings I'm looking at right now have him directly behind guys like Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, David Montgomery. I would say in your league, if you're playing in with maybe a few more casual players, you could go through and you could see if you could sell Saquon Barkley for like Bijan Robinson. In my personal rankings, I have Barkley at 22 overall. I have Bijan Robinson at 21 overall. And if you do look at what we have with Bijan Robinson's schedule, on the other hand, Bijan just has like the best playoff schedule you can find. Now, our second worst team is actually going to be the Baltimore Ravens. You have the Jags, who are the 25th worst, the Niners, the 23rd, the Dolphins, the 18th. And that's in terms of points allowed to the running back position. So obviously, the higher the number, the worse the matchup is. So yeah, if we're looking at the Ravens here, I mean, not too much is going to happen. You're not really relying on Gus Edwards too much anyway. I will reiterate that Gus Edwards is a sell in a full PPR format. If you can get something, I'm assuming you can't. But in non-PPR league, maybe you can hold on to Gus Edwards with how good the Ravens look. And obviously, just bank that he's going to keep scoring touchdowns. Now, our third team's going to be the Panthers. Now, the Panthers will have every incentive to just shut down the season by the time we get to that point. And that is typically one thing I'm keeping in the back of our minds as well. Like if you look at maybe, say, Saquon Barkley and the Giants, if Saquon Barkley stubs his toe on his living room couch, he's probably not playing that next Sunday game, right? Because what's the point? Same thing here if you're going to be looking to the Panthers. They really have no reason to go out there. Their season is lost. Now, you're not starting any Carolina Panther anyway, so it's not necessarily that big of a deal. The Houston Texans are the next team. I would say almost the same thing in that you're not going to start any Texans players. You can't sell Dameon Pierce for anything. You can't sell Devin Singletary for anything. But they are playing the Falcons, the Jags, or both borderline. They're playing the Browns, who are a bottom 5 defense. And they're playing the Titans twice, who are borderline top 10 defense to go up against. Now, going over to Dallas, honestly, this may be a worse matchup. You have Tony Pollard going up against the Bills, Dolphins, Lions. The Lions have been 30th allowed in running back points. The Bills 15th, so they're more so middle of the road. And the Dolphins 18th, so slightly below average. And if you're looking at where Pollard currently is valued, you have Pollard at 19 in my rankings. In the community rankings, you have him at about, I believe, 10, which is very surprising. I mean, what I find in the live streams is people don't value Pollard nearly this high. I guess maybe people are just pumped given the matchup that he's about to have going up against the Giants, of course. But it does look like the matchups in the fantasy playoffs are going to be much tougher. Now, going over to the Jets, this is another team that I guess actually they're still in it, right? They're still playing for something here, even if it's disgusting. Let me pull up their current record. But nonetheless, you have Breece Hall going up against the Dolphins, Commanders, and the Browns. The Browns, very tough defense to go up against, one that you don't want. And then the Dolphins Commanders are slightly below average in their points allowed so far this season. The Jets are 4-4. If you map this out going forward, obviously they have some slight hope Rodgers comes back. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I mean, if they were to lose this week against the Raiders, that would be a pivotal game because then they have to play the Jets. Then they have to play the Dolphins. So you could see the Jets slipping quickly to 4-7 from here, which then at that point also does make it where they have no incentive to keep on pushing it. The Minnesota Vikings will be the next team. Vikings go up against the Lions, Packers, Bengals. The Packers are actually an above average matchup. Lions, very bad. Bengals, middle of the road. I mean, if you are looking at what we have in Minnesota here, another team that if things break the opposite way for them over the next few weeks, you could see this team deciding to just kind of shut it down. You still have Alexander Mattison somewhat as a viable option just because he is getting every single touch here with the Cam Akers injury. But still, it is important to know that you don't love the matchups for the fantasy playoffs here. The Cardinals will be that next team. Cardinals will have every reason to shut it down. Obviously, this is a team playing for 2024. They go up against the Niners, the Eagles, and the Bears. You really like the Bears matchup. That's why they're going to be lower on this list, even if they have two brutal ones, because you get a little bit of light there. But yeah, James Conner, another running back that if he stubs his toe on his living room couch, he's not coming back. Then the New Orleans Saints are going to go up against the Bucks, Rams, Giants. The Giants, great matchup. The Rams and Bucks are matchups that we would look to avoid. Now, with that being said, I think that Alvin Kamara is a little bit matchup independent here. In that if you are looking at what you have from Alvin Kamara, this is a running back that is pretty much just relying on cheap reception volume, right? It's not like you're starting Alvin Kamara and going, oh, I need a big play here. Or, oh, I need a ton of trips in the red zone. No. The reason you are starting Alvin Kamara is you're going, oh, okay, he's going to give me 5 receptions for 30 receiving yards. So in a full PPR format, he has a floor of 8 points. And then if he does anything as a rusher, then it's a bonus. So I don't think Kamara is a little bit more matchup proof. Going over to our 10th team, there are a lot of teams that kind of look like this. We are going to throw the Cincinnati Bengals here. They play the Vikings, Steelers, Chiefs. Steelers, an above average matchup. Vikings, Chiefs, below average matchups and points allowed to running backs so far this season. With that being said, I'm not going to be panicking on Joe Mixon for the fantasy football playoffs just because the Bengals have put themselves in a spot where every game matters. I mean, right now, if you are looking at this team, I mean, while they have been clicking as of late, because they started off slow, they started off 1-3, they are still 5-3 after winning 4 straight games. So yeah, this Bengals team is going to be fighting it out to the very end. I think that you are going to have a lot of usage for Joe Mixon in the fantasy football playoffs. But I think that should be it for this video. I really hope that we were able to help you out. And if y'all ever want to see a video on flockfantasy.com, or if you ever want to see anything, please don't hesitate to shoot me a DM on Discord. That's where I'm going to see it best. And also, I hope that y'all notice we are making dramatic improvements to flockfantasy.com. This weekend / early next week, we are going to have a trade calculator drop, which should help everybody from a dynasty perspective, also from your redraft perspective. We're going to have a lot of cool features with it. I think it's going to be the best trade calculator that you have seen. And then beyond that, we are working on some cool research tools for everybody as well, and just revamping the site overall. So really hope that y'all have enjoyed the improvements so far with community rankings, and hope that we are able to get y'all even more. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate y'all, and really hope that you have a great day.